Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network rigenera l'anima e il corpo e fa bene alla mente.
Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network presenta Radionotizie, un programma prodigio dedicato al radioascolto, condotto da Dario Gabrielli.
Saluto a tutti gli ascoltatori di Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, da Dario Gabrielli, redattore della rivista Radionotizie, in cui si pubblicano notizie di radioascolto internazionale. Su richiesta di vari ascoltatori, oggi vorrei parlare della radio digitale mondiale, ossia il DRM, che è l'unico sistema mondiale di trasmissione digitale previsto per le onde corte, medie e lunghe ed in grado di utilizzare le stesse frequenze attualmente assegnate al servizio di radiodiffusione in modulazione di ampiezza nello spettro fino a 30 MHz. L'idea base della DRM nacque durante un incontro a Parigi nel settembre del 1996 tra alcune delle più grandi emittenti e costruttori di apparati e rappresentanti di Radio France, Deutsche Welle e Voice of America, che sono le tre emittenti di Stato francese, tedesco e americana. Durante questo raduno tutte le parti concordarono su un punto: i giorni per la radiodiffusione sia nazionale che internazionale con la tradizionale modulazione di ampiezza sotto i 30 MHz erano vicini alla fine. Da questo incontro e da successivi incontri nacque un nuovo organismo i cui obiettivi sono: formulare un progetto per la radiodiffusione digitale nelle onde corte e medie, in modo da definire degli standard mondiali che possono guidare il mercato di orientamento dei potenziali utenti, facilitare la diffusione della tecnologia digitale di modulazione di ampiezza e inquadratura in tutto il mondo. Il DRM può essere impiegato per ricevitori radio fissi e mobili, autoradio e ricevitori software come computer. Quindi tutti i dati sono distribuiti su portanti ortogonali tra di loro, il cui numero varia in funzione della banda disponibile e del grado di protezione dai disturbi richiesti al segnale. Può usare codifiche audio MPEG per una qualità migliore. Il progetto ha come obiettivo formulare un progetto per la radiodiffusione digitale nelle onde corte e medie in modo da definire degli standard mondiali che possono guidare il mercato e l'orientamento dei potenziali utenti. Facilitare la diffusione della tecnologia digitale di modulazione di ampiezza inquadratura in tutto il mondo. La modulazione numerica di ampiezza inquadratura è un sistema di modulazione numerica sia analogica che digitali. Il segnale in ingresso viene suddiviso e cambia l'ampiezza delle portanti. Tale operazione si chiama modulazione di ampiezza. Nel caso di segnali digitali si sommano i segnali e si ottiene una forma d'onda che risulta una combinazione della modulazione di fase e della modulazione d'ampiezza. Questa tecnologia ha ricevuto l'approvazione del noto organo di standardizzazione International Telecommunication Union, che promette l'inizio di una nuova era nelle qualità del suono in broadcasting per trasmissioni a lungo, medio e corto raggio. Oggi il DRM è l'unico standard universale con qualità pari a quella dell'MP3, che può integrare dati, testo e video visualizzabili su display. Può essere impiegato per ricevitori radio fissi e mobili, autoradio e ricevitori software. Impiega una modulazione in modo che tutti i dati sono distribuiti su portanti ortogonali tra di loro, il cui numero varia in funzione della banda disponibile e del grado di protezione dai disturbi richiesti al segnale. Può impiegare codifiche audio MPEG 4 per una qualità migliore. Per ascoltare questo tipo di trasmissioni bisogna acquistare un apparecchio radio specifico DRM oppure si possono ascoltare attraverso il PC con un software particolare chiamato Kiwi SDR. Bene cari amici, per oggi è tutto. Aspettando vostre notizie, chi volesse contattarmi per richiedere informazioni sul radioascolto o chi avesse domande può farlo indirizzando la richiesta all'indirizzo radionotizie@hotmail.com. Un saluto a tutti e ci sentiamo la prossima settimana. Dario.
Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network vi invita ad ascoltare Radionotizie, panorama del radioascolto internazionale a cura di Dario Gabrielli. Per contattare la redazione radionotizie@hotmail.com.
Con voi e noi, letteralmente Radio Yoga Network. Per contatti radioyoganetwork@gmail.com e ti senti in forma.
The Shortwave Radio Audio Archive, SRAA, is a collection of shortwave radio recordings that you can download or listen to as a podcast. The collection grows every day and includes both historic recordings and current recordings from the shortwave radio spectrum. The goal of this site is for shortwave radio enthusiasts to have a place to store, archive, and share their radio recordings with the world. shortwavearchive.com.
You're listening to WRNO Worldwide, the rock of the world.
The following program comes to you from Radio Earth, an independent broadcasting company. Radio Earth is not affiliated with any political or religious organization, and its funding comes entirely from the sale of commercial advertising. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Radio Earth or its advertisers. We welcome your comments, suggestions, and reception reports. Our address is Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, USA. Radio Earth presents The World, a daily program of human interest. Tonight's edition of The World is brought to you by the Curacao Tourist Board. Curacao, the island with a style of its own. By Spectronics, where service and quality tell the story. By Grove Enterprises, a company committed to customer satisfaction. And by Sony, the one and only. Days drift by, they don't have names. None of the streets here look the same. There's so many quiet places. Smiling eyes match the smiling faces. Yes, we have. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff White in Chicago. Radio Earth, North America's #1 commercial shortwave service, has found a new home. That's Jimmy Buffett singing to us there. This is our mailbag program Friday night, but first of all, let me tell you a little more. Yes, on Monday, the 24th of September, this coming Monday, Radio Earth is moving. You'll hear us at the same time, 0300 Coordinated Universal Time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But on a different frequency, the one we've been alluding to in some previous programs, and that is, of course, 11.7 megahertz, which is to say 11,700 kilohertz, via the facilities of Radio Clarin in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some great ideas. I'm going to be in Santo Domingo Monday night, and we should be doing, hopefully, a live show with Rudy Espinal and our audio engineer, Candido Ventura, there in the studios of Radio Clarin. We are going to have a lot of fun. We've got some great program ideas. Radio Earth is always looking for ways to serve you better, and I think we've made a good choice, and I think that we will, that you, the listener, will benefit from all of this. Now, some of you in parts of North America may find that reception is not as good on Radio Clarin as it was on WRNO. Others of you may find, for example, on the West Coast, that Clarin's reception is better than WRNO's. There are some trade-offs always in everything that you do, but considering the circumstances, I think we probably did the best thing. So that starts again Monday, the 24th of September, 0300 UTC. Okay, that's actually Tuesday if you want to go by UTC days, but it's Monday night in North America. And the time, 0300 UTC, the frequency 11.7 megahertz via Radio Clarin. Jot that down, and we hope you'll be joining us, because next week we are going to be doing a lot of new things in the way of programming that we have not been able to do up until now for various limitations. We are going to be doing live programs from Santo Domingo. That will give us a lot more flexibility. We're going to have a lot more audience participation in our programming. I'll leave it at that for now. And trying some new ideas. Rudy Espinal will be on there every night with me with Caribbean music and information. And, well, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. We will be on WRNO on this frequency, 6.185 megahertz, through the end of this week. That is to say, tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday night. And then on Monday night, same time but different frequency, 11.7 megahertz. Okay, we'll mention that again later on in the program for those who might not have tuned in up until this point. This is, as I mentioned, the mailbag program, as we do every Friday night, and we have so much mail, you wouldn't believe it, or I don't believe it. Well, I do because I see it here, but we are probably going to also tomorrow night have a special mailbag program in addition to our regular DX news, so that we can deal with a lot of this mail that's coming in here. But let's see, we'll get started with the mailbag, but we have to first mention a couple of our sponsors.
Earth is offering listeners a pre-Christmas package tour to Curacao in the Netherlands Antilles. It's full studio location. The tour, which runs from December the 15th to the 22nd, includes the round-trip airfare from Philadelphia, 7 nights hotel accommodation, and transfer around the island for $375. A day trip to Bonaire and the Radio Netherlands and Transworld radio transmitter stations is an optional extra. For more details, write to Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, United States. I'll read that address again. Write to Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, United States.
Whether you are a new listener or a veteran DXer, Universal Shortwave Radio of Reynoldsburg, Ohio would like to hear from you. Universal is compiling a directory of radio listeners called the DXers Directory. This book will contain information on listeners from the USA, Canada, and all over the world. It will be an invaluable guide for those wishing to meet other listeners in their areas. There is no cost to be listed, and there is no obligation. For more information on the DXers Directory, or to receive a free shortwave catalog, please write to Universal Shortwave Radio, 1280 Ada Drive, that's AIDA, in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, 43068. The address once again for the free shortwave catalog and information on the DXers Directory, Universal Shortwave Radio, 1280 Ada Drive, Reynoldsburg, Ohio, 43068. Okay, I'm Jeff White, for those of you who have just tuned in, and this is the mailbag program from Radio Earth, and our first letter tonight comes from Nepean, Ontario. Or Nepean, Ontario, I guess it is, from Richard Carter, who I remember talking to on the telephone a few months ago. Richard says, I've been listening to Radio Earth for about 2 months. I think it's great. Your shows and your station in general is without the stuffiness and snobbery of many of the major shortwave stations, yet you are just as professional. Spoke to you about 6 weeks ago on the phone. My friend Rick Andrews spoke to you just a week or so ago. Yes, sir, I'm that call too. I work in the music and entertainment industry, he says, and I'm constantly on tour with rock bands, etc. But no matter where I am, my Sony ICF 2001 is by my side, and every night at 0300 UTC, I tuned into your station. In mid-September, I shall be starting an American tour with an up-and-coming Canadian rock band called Exciter. We will be playing coast to coast, including Chicago. So if it's all right, I'll drop by and say hello. Also, I'd like to meet any Radio Earth listeners throughout America during this tour. Well, great, Richard. I'm going to be in Santo Domingo for a while. I'm not sure how long, but let us know when you're coming to Chicago, and by all means, we would be glad to have you stop by, and we can do a show or something. And if you give us the dates and places of the stops on your coast-to-coast U.S. tour, we'd be glad to mention them here on the program. So do send them to us. Thank you, Richard. John Satasuso from Lakeland, Florida, thank you for your letter, or the copy of the letter that you sent, you know where. Holly Banks Jr. from Baltimore, Maryland says, no news. He doesn't want us to put news on the program. Okay, we'll see what we can do about that. Richard Spear, Ph.D. from Baldwin Park, California. Thanks for your card. Ronald Anderson in Peoria, Illinois. I think you gave us a call the other day, too, as I recall. Thanks, Ron. Here's a letter from John Vakarov of Atco, New Jersey. And another one from Charles Parks in Houston, Texas, who says, good luck and be sure to hang in there. We need you. Well, we're hanging in there, all right. Richard Stack from Lake Forest, Illinois. Thank you. Rich Hirsch of Webster Groves, Missouri, says, it is unfortunate that WRNO will not continue to broadcast Radio Earth programs. I listen to Radio Earth whenever I can, and I believe it is the kind of venture that very much deserves to survive. We're surviving. We're just switching frequency, that's all. Monday, for those of you who didn't hear me at the beginning of the program, we're going to 11.7 megahertz. We're moving from 6.185 to 11.7. That's at the same time, 0300 UTC. We'll be broadcasting via Radio Clarin in Santo Domingo. Wesley Hall from Edmond, Oklahoma says, your Friday mailbag show is rather interesting, and I like the international music you play. And we'll have some of that on the program tonight, in a few minutes, in fact. Christopher Link from, where is Chris? In East Greenbush, New York, says, if your trip to Curacao was set for our Christmas vacation, I'd go. As it is, we missed by 10 days or so. I think Christopher is a teacher. And he obviously cannot leave the students until his Christmas vacation time. Well, sorry about that, Christopher, but maybe our next tour to Curacao will be at a good time for you. Ken Dooley from Bloomington, Illinois, a letter from you. Another letter from J.A. Vancic of Omaha, Nebraska. Calvin Watts from, from Penrith Park, Australia, in New South Wales. Thank you for your reception report, and we will get a Curacao card off to you. Michael Manship from Canby, Indiana. And Jay Pope of New York, New York. Tom Pack from Houston, Texas. Thanks for another one of your most interesting postcards. Orville Silbo of Alberton, Montana says, for several years I've been trying to locate where I can purchase a shortwave receiver. Not the toys with a tape on one end and a dial with several red lights on the other end, but one with single sideband, digital readout, BFO, calibration, etc. Can you be of any help to me? Well, we can't, perhaps, but a lot of our advertisers can. If you listen to the program tonight, you've already heard about one company that can be of help to you, and you'll hear about a few others during the program tonight. I urge you to listen to the commercials, and these companies have those kinds of receivers and quite a nice selection of them at very reasonable prices, too. So I suggest that you contact our advertisers. Kenton Dean in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, thank you for your postcard. A greetings from Riyadh card showing looks like a sports stadium and someone riding a camel. Great, thanks, Kenton. And he says that he's hearing us over there with a fair signal. Maybe you'll get us with a better signal on Monday when we go to Radio Clarin. We would be interested in reception reports. Mike Kander from Tacoma, Washington says, please send me more information about your Christmas tour to Curacao. By all means, Mike, sorry, it's on its way. Mr. K. Rathy of, or maybe it's Rath. K. Rath or K. Rathy, I'm not sure which, of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Thanks for your letter. Joe Sorrell of Greenville, South Carolina. John Freiberg, Jr. of Concord, New Hampshire, says, have you ever heard of Radio Rainbow? Where is it? Well, I've never heard of it, but it sounds like it could be a clandestine station of some sort. Perhaps some of our listeners have heard of Radio Rainbow. If you have, drop us a line, let us know so we can let everybody else know, including John Freiberg. Woody Seymour, Jr. from Sanford, North Carolina. Good to hear from you, Woody. He says there are many who feel that shortwave radio is not interesting to listen to. Admittedly, there are many dull, politically oriented programs on shortwave, but then there's also Radio Earth. Radio Earth is refreshing, innovative, informative, and interesting. After you listen to a few programs, you feel that the announcers are your friends. This sort of programming is what shortwave should offer to its listeners, information and friendship. Since all the programs of Radio Earth are different, it's difficult to say that one or more are my favorites. That's like comparing apples and oranges. I do find the weekend programs to appeal to my tastes more. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night schedule. Thank you, Woody. Appreciate your comments, and I agree wholeheartedly. Ashley James Murphin of Ottawa, Ontario. David Noah of Huntsville, Alabama. And David says, I'm also curious as to if you receive much mail from any of the Eastern European countries and what their responses in general have been. The reason I ask is that I'm currently involved in Soviet and Eastern Bloc studies, such as the various political, military, cultural, and lifestyle aspects of their societies. Okay, David, I would say that, yes, we do receive a fair amount of mail from the East Bloc. I don't believe we have ever received a letter from the Soviet Union, but we do get a lot of mail from East Germany. You might have heard it roll out here on Mailbag, and I think we have some letters from East Germany on the program later tonight. East Germany is probably the number one East Bloc country that we get mail from. Other countries that I can recall getting mail from would include Czechoslovakia, Hungary. We have never received anything from Cuba, I don't believe, but if I think of any others, I'll let you know. It comes in, but just not very regularly, except for East Germany. For some reason, that mail comes in quite well. Okay, he says, David says, my interests, however, are not confined to Eastern Europe. Anything concerning our vast world with its diverse peoples interests me, and in this respect I cannot overemphasize the great service Radio Earth has been to me. Through the world and its diverse programming, Radio Earth and shortwave radio itself has something totally unique. I congratulate everyone responsible. I've listened to your program from its beginning via Radio Clarin and shall continue to listen wherever you end up. Thank you very much. David Miller from Huntsville, Alabama. And that's something we should point out, I guess. We're not just moving to Radio Clarin, we're going back to Radio Clarin. That's where we were from June through, October of last year, and through the end of September anyway. Or was it the end of October? I don't remember. Anyway, we were there. That's where we started out, and that's where we're going back to. The people there are friendly, they're cooperative, they're helpful, and we have a real good relationship with them there. And we're looking forward to going back to Radio Clarin on Monday. Okay, more letters from, this one does not give a name, but we have an address in Bristol, Wisconsin. Thank you, Mr. Bristol. Craig Kidder from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thanks for your letter and the copy of your letter. Thanks to everybody who's been sending us copies of letters that they've written recently. You know what I mean. From Lansing, Kansas, Tracy Wood has several programming comments. He says, skip the weekly news review. It's boring, redundant, and not too timely. Thanks, Jeff, but I'll get my news from the BBC. Okay, thank you. I applaud your relays of other DX shows. A good move on our part. Skip the sports. I can get my scores on other stations. Stick to what you do best, and your audience will keep growing. More feature shows, international music that's distinct, and shortwave specialty broadcasts. Go forward. Your station deserves better than what you've been getting. Well, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Tracy Wood from Lansing, Kansas. John Demmett in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you're listening to us tonight, but if you are, John, I want to say hello, and I want to apologize for not getting back to you in quite some time. I will be dropping you a line regarding the items in your latest letter. Thank you very much, John Demmett in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Ron Trotto from St. Cloud, Florida, says, I really enjoy Radio Earth's programs, particularly Dialogue, Mailbag, and Skyline. I'm 26 years old. I've been a DXer for 10 years. I presently use a Uniden CR2021 communications receiver. I belong to two DX clubs, NASWA and the New York DX Association. I'd like you to mention this on the air. Membership is open to all, regardless of country or interest. The annual dues for the New York DX Association are $10 U.S. or $15 in Canada, or 20 international reply coupons. Sample issues are available for the club bulletin for 75 cents U.S., $1 Canadian, or 2 international reply coupons. Their bulletin is called the Urban DXer, and the address to write to is the New York DX Association, care of Greg Baker, 4103 Fort Hamilton Parkway, in Brooklyn, New York, 11209. That's the New York DX Association, care of Greg Baker, 4103 Fort Hamilton Parkway, Brooklyn, New York, 11209. They also have a DX hotline, which operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. After the message, just leave your name, city, and DX tips. And the telephone number there, if you want to ring them up, is area code 212-981-4866. That's 212-981-4866. 4866. Okay, we got a lot more mail here, but we also want to break it up with a little bit of music. So let's have something from Portugal now, if I can find it. Yes, this is from Maria Guinot, who was the female artist who represented Portugal at this year's Grand Prix Eurovision Song Contest in Luxembourg. In her homeland, she ranks not only among the most well-known music artists, but also among the most popular. The song she performed at the Eurovision contest was Silencio e Tanta Gente. And Maria Guinot's song has not only been a hot-selling item in her homeland, but in several other countries as well. Here's Maria Guinot. And she is from Portugal, I guess, or represented Portugal anyway at the Eurovision Song Contest. That surprised me because that song was definitely not sung in Portuguese. That was French. Although the name of it here is, it says, Silencio e Tanta Gente, which is not a French name. I don't know. I can't quite figure that out. Well, you know, those Europeans, they just slip back and forth from one language to another in the blink of an eye. That's great, though, that they can do that. Okay, you're listening to the Mailbag program from Radio Earth. Thanks to Gregory McIntyre in Belfort, South Dakota, for a letter. Here's one I mentioned on the program last week, but I didn't really see the picture on the postcard. This is from Michael Lesick of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And he sends us a postcard here of the Terry Fox Memorial in Thunder Bay. I didn't realize that that's where it was located, but it says here, of course, Terry Fox is I think it explains here on the postcard. So Terry Fox inspired this nation with his dream, his marathon of hope, a cross-Canada run to raise money for cancer research. Running 26 miles a day, this outstanding young athlete had conquered 5 provinces by the time he had reached Ontario in June. There, at mile 3,339, near this very site, recurring cancer forced him to give up his run. To every Canadian, he left us a challenge each of us will meet in his own way. It's taken from the monument's inscription, the Terry Fox Memorial in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Thanks. It's really nice to see that. John Hupke Jr. from East Chicago, Indiana, has written to us, as well as Ralph Geary Jr. of Louisville, Kentucky. Says, please put me on your mailing list for your new program schedule. Also tell Dave Rosenthal of Skyline to do a show on urban visibility problems. The streetlights and smog are so bad here, for example, that one is lucky to see anything dimmer than third magnitude on even good nights. Okay, I will pass this on to Dave, and I'm sure he'll do something on that in a future edition of Skyline. That's every Thursday night on The World. G.A. Hutchins from Fort Worth, Texas says, I'd like to hear more detailed DX news items. How about antenna designs? Maybe some low-tech information on how a radio station works. I take Popular Communications and like its format, but would rather listen to radio shows than read, so why not add more hours of dialogue? Well, you are going to find that we are going to have some more DX programming coming up, beginning when? This Saturday, I believe. We're beginning a new program, Radio Monitors International. That begins October 1st. I believe that's this Saturday. Radio Monitors International, produced by Adrian Peterson from AWR in Pune, India. So tell us what you think of that. Take a listen. Leslie Wayne from Firenze in Italy, or Florence, if we want to use the English version. Thanks for your letter. Bob Miller from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania says, I've been a regular listener to your station since December 1983, but this is the first time I've written to you. My favorite programs are Skyline, This is the Caribbean, Shortwave Pandemonium, Dialogue, and Mailbag. My only suggestion is to put on Rudy Espinal's This is the Caribbean more often than once a week. Well, Bob, your wishes are granted as of Monday. Rudy Espinal will be with us daily on this program. Bob says, I'm currently attending Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. I'm majoring in philosophy with the hope of becoming a priest. Radio Earth is a great way to end a long day. Okay, thanks a lot. This is Amy Polivka from Omaha, Nebraska, says, I'm in support of your feelings toward having your own decisions made in regard to programming. Of all the programs, I enjoy and listen to Mailbag the most. I wish it was on more often. Okay, thanks, Amy. Terry Coleman from West Bend, Wisconsin. Thank you to everybody who's been returning our listener questionnaires. We appreciate it. It gives us a lot of good information about what you like and what you don't like, and how we should alter our programming in the future. George Vieira from New York, New York. Thanks for returning yours too. Here's a letter from Mr. E. Hamby of Charlotte, North Carolina. It says, I now have a Radio Shack DX40. It's inexpensive. Is the DX66 any better, or do I need one of the above to get fairly good reception? Well, let's see. One of the above. He's looking at higher-priced receivers. I see the ICF 6500 and the Radio Shack DX400, the Uniden CR 2021. Well, you should be able to get reasonable reception on the DX66. I don't know. I'm not all that much into electronics myself. Perhaps some of our listeners have some ideas. I know some of our listeners out there have DX40s and DX66s from Radio Shack. Why don't you send in your comments about them, and we'll read them on the air. But Mr. Hamby goes on to say, I bought a shortwave radio primarily to listen to Spanish radio, and with my limited conocimiento de español and not too clear radio reception, mi español queda mal. Well, it's interesting because what he's saying is that he doesn't have much of a knowledge of Spanish, but he's trying to learn it on shortwave. Shortwave is an excellent way to learn a language. I wish more people would do it that way. I learned a lot of my Spanish by listening to various Spanish-speaking stations on shortwave. Perhaps a better radio is what you need, or maybe a better antenna. So check out some of the catalogs from some of our advertisers. Danny Kapnick of Montreal, Quebec, thank you for your order. We're sending you the World Radio TV Handbook. Ron Fenton from Kankakee, Illinois, thanks for the copy of your letter that you sent us. Fred Allen III of Grand Forks, North Dakota. Great, thank you. We don't get too many letters from North Dakota. James Fordyce, that is, of Coram, New York. Another one here from Howard Podoba of Bedford Heights, Ohio, who says, you run a class outfit. It's too bad you have to move off of WRNO. They obviously don't know a good thing when they have it. Paul Muleman, Jr. of New Orleans, Louisiana, says, I discovered your one-hour program recently while I was searching for WRNO and its ever-changing frequencies. I had heard Swiss Radio International's Two Bobs mention you about a week earlier as their unofficial relay station, but I wasn't sure if that was a joke or not. I've been listening to you regularly for almost 2 weeks now, and I like your programming fairly well. Sorry to hear that WRNO will be dropping you soon because your program, and Glenn Hauser's World of Radio are their two best programs as far as I'm concerned. Neither of which are produced by WRNO, I should add. Among the programs I like best, he continues, are your reruns or rebroadcasts of Radio Sweden's Sweden Calling DXers and Swiss Radio's Swiss Shortwave Merry-Go-Round. I've also enjoyed Don Moore's reports from Honduras, Rudy Espinal's Caribbean features, as well as the occasional playing of foreign folk music and foreign recipes. Okay, oh wait, he's got more. Congratulations on your success in putting together a good variety of programming, and keep up the good work. I even find your advertisements interesting. Well, while I'm not new to shortwave listening, I am just getting back into it. I had not been listening for a couple of years, ever since my last receiver broke down. I now have a new Sony ICF 2002, which I find a pleasure to use. Please send information on the Curacao trip in December. Okay, we will. Thank you, Paul. Paul Muleman, Jr. from New Orleans, Louisiana. Gerardo Amargos from Westchester, Illinois. We got your letter. We'll be replying. Derek Claridge from Nelson, British Columbia. Brenton Steck, Jr. of LaPorte, Indiana. He says, sorry to hear that WRNO is dropping Radio Earth. It is a fine program. I hope you find a new station to air the fine programs that you put on the air. I've been listening to shortwave for 8 years now, enjoying it more than TV. Radio is much better. I have a question. One night I tuned into a program called Radio Jackie. I was wondering if, have you ever heard of Radio Jackie? His program was on 3250 kilohertz. Well, Radio Jackie, as I recall, is some kind of a radio station out of the UK. That frequency seems a little strange, but I don't know, maybe it's a harmonic of a medium wave frequency. We'll pass that on to the folks at the Swiss Shortwave Merry-Go-Round, and perhaps they can give you some more insight on that. Sorry to see WRNO drop a fine program, he says. Thank you, Brenton Steck, Jr. of LaPorte, Indiana. Louis DeBergalis from Terre Haute, Indiana. Thanks for your letter. Here's a neat one from George Graham of Resolute Bay in the Northwest Territories of Canada. He says, my wife and I are very interested in the trip sponsored by the Curacao Tourist Board. We would like to have application forms for this trip, as well as additional information. We understand that it costs $375 US per person for the trip, and that it is for a week in mid-December. The exact dates I did not catch. Well, it's December 15th through the 22nd, so it gets you back in time for Christmas. So if you could provide us with the necessary logistical information, we would be most grateful. We would reply speedily with whatever is required of us. Okay, great. I hope you will. It would be really nice to have you along on the trip. And it will certainly be a change to go from the Northwest Territories in December to Curacao. I mean, that is like a 360-degree, 180-degree change. George says, soon the sun will descend below the horizon, and the long 24-hour night of the high Arctic will descend upon us. It will be good to have informative and enjoyable programs to listen to. Such can soon become old friends. All right, thanks, George. And let us know how we're coming in on Radio Clarin. My guess is that we should be doing just as well, or almost as well anyway, up in your area. James Morgan from Columbus, Ohio, has written to us. Andy Wilson in Danville, Indiana. And Andy says, hi, I just heard your show last night and I loved it. This is the first time that I have heard Radio Earth. I think the concept of reading mail from other nations is really interesting. There's a letter I'm particularly interested in. It was from Mr. John Darris Anthony from the island of Rodriguez in the Indian Ocean. For any informational purposes, I have researched Mr. Anthony's island. And here's what I found. The island of Rodriguez lies in the Indian Ocean. It covers 40 square miles. It has a population of about 17,000 people, most of whom are descendants of African slaves brought in by the French in the 17th century. It consists of a ridge of volcanic hills running east to west and has a fringing coral reef. Rodriguez has an important cable and wireless station. A magistrate and a commissioner, appointed by the governor of Mauritius, preside over the island from its capital, Port Mathurin. Well, interesting. Thank you for doing that research. Sounds like a nice place to be. Andy Wilson from Danville, Indiana, who says, as you may have figured, I am one of your younger listeners. I am 14 years old. Okay, thanks. Let's see, another listener survey from Mervyn Deeger of Toronto. Good to hear from you again, Mervyn. And he says, I really enjoy listening to your mailbag program, as well as Shortwave Pandemonium is another program I like, and IS Sweden Calling DXers. I have not any complaints about Radio Earth programming, okay? That's okay with me. Mervyn Deeger from Toronto, thanks. Okay, we've got to stop here. I got a lot more mail, but we have to do a few commercials and some other things. We have to tell you who you're listening to, but let me just very briefly make an announcement, repeat an announcement that we made earlier in the program, and that is that beginning Monday, September 24th, that is this coming Monday, Radio Earth is leaving this frequency. We will be switching frequencies. Our new frequency will be 11.7 megahertz. That's 11.7 megahertz in the 25-meter band. Our time will remain the same, 0300 to 0400 Coordinated Universal Time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Mountain, and 8 p.m. out on the west coast of North America. All right, we'll be back with more Mailbag in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Radio Earth, presenting the world to the world. Tonight's program is brought to you by the Curacao Tourist Board. Curacao, the island with a style of its own. By Spectronics, where service and quality tell the story. By Grove Enterprises, a company committed to customer satisfaction. And by Sony, the one and only. Radio Earth presents the world daily at 0300 Coordinated Universal Time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on 6.185 megahertz shortwave. We welcome your comments, suggestions, and reception reports. Our address is Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, USA. I'm Ken McHard. Whether you're a radio hobbyist, a DXer who scans the bands for new stations to hear, or a more serious listener who tunes into a particular program and special for information, entertainment, or inspiration, you need the International Shortwave Listeners Program Guide. This monthly magazine brings you the latest news from international stations, columns on listening to various regions of the world, and a complete list of upcoming shortwave programs and their frequencies. Of particular interest is the new feature, which provides a daily list of programs and their particular content. Just what do you need as you try to decide which program is yours on any particular night? Those outside the U.S. should write for rates in your area. Send your check for your subscription. You really can't get along in the shortwave world without it. And for subscription information, here's Jeff White. For 1 year subscription to the International Shortwave Listeners Program Guide, send a check or money order for $19.95 in U.S. funds to Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201, USA. Outside of North America, please add $12 for airmail postage. Until now, the Sony ICF 6500W was very possibly the best shortwave receiver buy on the market. After all, it's portable, has digital radio, and sells for under $200. We said until now because Sony has discontinued the ICF 6500W. But Spectronics knows a good buy when they see it. They bought all of the remaining 6500Ws that Sony had in stock. And Spectronics is selling them at the clearance price of $96.50, plus $3 for shipping. When these are gone, the Sony ICF 6500W will be no more. To order yours, write or call Spectronics, Oak Park, Illinois, 60304-1890. That's Spectronics, Oak Park, Illinois, 60304-1890. MasterCard and Visa orders are accepted over the phone. You can call Spectronics at area code 312-848-6777. That's 312-848-6777. Ask for the new Spectronics catalog with all the latest shortwave equipment and accessories. And be sure to mention Radio Earth. Spectronics, where service and quality tell the story. Now how about some music from Czechoslovakia? From Czechoslovakia. That came to us from Gary Hickerson down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, via a DXing friend of his in Czechoslovakia. You're listening to the Radio Earth mailbag, and let's dip back down into it. Bob Capetta from West Hartford, Connecticut says, I am a new shortwave listener and enjoyed listening to Radio Earth, especially Skyline. Here's one from a place we don't get too many letters from, and that's from Trinidad. This is from Rishi Persad of Dabadi in Trinidad. He says, my name is Rishi Persad, and I reside on the small Caribbean island of Trinidad, just off the coast of Venezuela. I'm 16 years old and pleased to say a new listener to Radio Earth. Remarkably, the service can be picked up quite clearly here in Trinidad. Well, you will probably hear us perhaps even better when we go to Radio Clarin next week. The programs are certainly very entertaining and informative. Radio Earth International is certainly one of the best shortwave stations in the world. Well, thank you, Rishi Persad from Dabadi, Trinidad, and let us know how we're coming in beginning next week. Kevin Slater in Salem, Oregon, thanks for your nice long letter, says, I've noticed that many people, especially in the East, complain about the program being on the air so late. Well, the time is perfect for us on the West Coast, as people have had a chance to get home from work and eat supper. If the program must be broadcast earlier, I hope it will be no earlier than 0200 UTC. Well, we are staying at 0300 UTC. However, Radio Clarin stays on the same time all year round. They will stay on UTC year-round, like most professional shortwave stations do. And therefore, when the time changes in, let's see, at the end of next month, end of October, when the time changes in North America, that means we'll be on an hour earlier according to your local time. Hopefully this move is going to please those on the East Coast, because we will be an hour earlier when the time changes, and it should please people on the West Coast because reception may be a bit better in some areas. Okay, a letter here from Jay Everett of Dayton, Ohio, who says, I'm receiving you really well, considering all I have is a standard portable AM/FM radio. Well, you must be getting it. That's pretty well, yeah. We do not broadcast on AM or FM, as far as I know, unless somebody is retransmitting this program. If they are, let us know. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes a shortwave signal will get into your AM or FM receiver. However, what I suggest you do is go out to somewhere and get a shortwave radio and look us up on 11.7 megahertz starting next Monday. R.E. Johnson from Rochester, New York, thanks for your card. Mr. Allison Evans from Ridgecrest, California, says, the quality of your shortwave, as received here, varies considerably. Dave Rosenthal has blamed this on output from the sun. This past week, reception was particularly good for so near to summer's atmospherics. Dave talked about radio signals from Jupiter. Very interesting. Okay, well, we hope that out there in Ridgecrest, California, you will find reception at least as good on Radio Clarin, perhaps even better. Penny Sacco in Chicago, thanks for your latest letters here and copies of letters. I found them most amusing. Paul Morris of, Newark, New York. Everybody in the office found them amusing, too, by the way. Unfortunately, we can't read them on the air. Anyway, Paul Moons of Newark, New York says, my family enjoys your broadcast very much. We listen on a 30-year-old Zenith transoceanic receiver, which combined with our interest in old radio sets greatly adds to our listening pleasure. I hope my 6-year-old son, Gregory, will grow up with and enjoy shortwave listening also. I hope so, too. Great. Steve Wildrick from Indianapolis, Indiana. An unidentified listener here from Rochester, New York. Stephen Strauch from Hawaiian Gardens, California. That sounds like a nice place to be. Thanks to Kenton Dean for returning a listener survey. He's the one who we mentioned earlier in the program. He's out in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia right now. Bob Nagle in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania says, I like your dialogue program. It is interesting. Could you please do a program on long-wave DXing? I may be getting a receiver that picks up long-wave and short-wave. That's an interesting topic. I will tell you what, I'll pass it on to the two Bobs at Swiss Radio, and perhaps on the Swiss Shortwave Merry-Go-Round they can do something on that. Catherine Irving in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, in Canada, says, after hearing about Radio Earth on the Belgian radio's DX program, DX Panorama, I decided to find out for myself what you were like. I must say I was very impressed. The program I listened to was Shortwave Pandemonium. I really enjoyed the relaxed atmosphere and general silliness of the show. Programs such as yours are few and far between in this stodgy world of shortwave radio. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Radio Earth is trying to make the world of shortwave radio less stodgy. Thomas Ross in Lyons, Illinois, says, I find your program on Radio Earth without a doubt the finest shortwave program coming from the USA. This country lacks, other than Radio Earth, any type of shortwave programming like many other small countries, such as those of HCJB in Ecuador, Radio Sweden, Radio South Africa, just to name a few. Keep up the good work. By the way, I have purchased all of my shortwave equipment at Spectronics. I hope they keep sponsoring your station. John and Lefty there have been extremely helpful to me. Spectronics is a great store. Now for some suggestions. Recently, I had the opportunity to participate in a radio phone-in program where my phone conversation was played live over the air. This was on HCJB in Quito, Ecuador. Let me tell you, it was one of the most exciting moments of my life. How about Radio Earth doing this? Well, funny you should mention it. We have been talking for a long time about doing some sort of a regular phone-in show, and going to Radio Clarin will hopefully give us the opportunity to do this. We have to work out the logistics still, but I think before long you can expect something along those lines from us. Tom Reiser in Chicago suggests we get an attorney. Okay, thank you, Tom. We appreciate your sentiments. Dave Miller from Huntsville, Alabama says, what did he say? Oh, he sends us an order for something. Thank you, Dave. I think we had a letter from him earlier in the program. Another one from Kankakee, Illinois. Here's one from Brian McNamee of North Quincy, Massachusetts, who says, I want you to know I'm an avid Radio Earth listener. I can hear your signal clearly with my Sony ICF 6500W receiver, which I received as a second anniversary present from my wife. Sony would be proud to know that their radio retired a 35-year-old Grundig Majestic table model 2260U, certainly the Rolls-Royce of radios. I enjoy Radio Earth because of the attention you give to shortwave listening. Your radio station is particularly unique in this regard. Please continue to foster shortwave listening hobby enthusiasts like myself with your great programming. Okay, we will. We'll try anyway. John Sterling in Lancaster, South Carolina. We're sending you a schedule. Mike Schneider in New Paltz, New York. Same there. To you, A.J. Doyon of Avondale, Arizona. Thanks for returning our survey. Richard Lemke up in, where is he? In Alberta, St. Albert, Alberta. Thanks for your latest letter. Louis Ruley, attorney at law in Marlton, New Jersey. Thank you for the copy of your letter. Walter Eugene Bradley of Culver, Indiana. Henry Slade of Xenia, Ohio. And Jerry Dexter up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Jerry, of course, is a columnist for magazines and writes books about shortwave, and you can read him in Popular Communications every month. Jerry says, let me express my hope that the current difficulties will soon be resolved, perhaps even for the better. Well, everything is resolved. For those who haven't heard, we are going Monday to Radio Clarin, 11.7 megahertz. Same time, 0300 UTC, that's 11 p.m. Eastern Time, just a different frequency, 11.7 megahertz, starting next Monday night, September 24th. All right, let's have a couple of messages, and we'll be back with more of the Radio Earth mailbag. Knowing that there is a company that will take time to work with its customers is very important to the American consumer. And Grove Enterprises is that kind of company. That's why thousands of shortwave listeners and monitor enthusiasts go to Grove Enterprises for receivers, filters, antennas, scanners, monitors, and books and manuals to improve their monitoring hobby. Grove Enterprises is a family business run by Bob and Judy Grove. And when you order from Grove Enterprises, you become part of the Grove family. Bob Grove is a radio hobbyist himself, and he provides not only equipment and accessories, but professional service as well. Grove Enterprises also publishes Monitoring Times, a monthly communications magazine covering the whole radio spectrum. Here's Bob Grove to tell us about it.
Monitoring Times was the pioneer publication in the hobby of wide-spectrum monitoring from the lowest frequencies to the space satellites. Serious listeners rely on the timeliness and accuracy of the articles in Monitoring Times. News-breaking articles are often added right up to press time, articles which often find their way into competitive publications months later.
If you'd like a free sample copy of Monitoring Times and the latest Grove Enterprises catalog, call toll-free 800-438-8155. That's 800-438-8155. Or write to Grove Enterprises, P.O. Box 98, Brasstown, North Carolina, 28902. That's Grove Enterprises, P.O. Box 98, Brasstown, North Carolina, 28902, USA. Grove Enterprises, a company committed to customer satisfaction. The best way to travel to just about anywhere in the world is with the Sony World Band Radio. Take the Sony ICF 2002. It's small, weighing less than 2 pounds and very portable. The ICF 2002 also features stations. There's even an international time guide so you can listen into the right place at the right time. To get your copy, send a check or money order for $5.95 in U.S. funds to Sony World Band Book Offer, CN 12150, Trenton, New Jersey 08650. That's Sony World Band Book Offer, CN 12150. Trenton, New Jersey, 08650, USA. Happy traveling from Sony, the one and only. Speaking of traveling, that's what I'm going to be doing on Monday, I guess, going down to Santo Domingo for a few weeks. to begin our new transmissions via Radio Clarin with Rudy Espinal. I'm looking forward to it. I am going to miss, however, the Mike Polis fundraiser, which happens Monday night here in Evanston. For those of you who are in the Chicago area, maybe you'll be interested in knowing. Mike Polis, our chairman of the board, is running for state representative in this area, Evanston, northern part of Chicago and a couple other towns, but anyway, he's running for state representative in this area and having a fundraiser on Monday night, which I am going to miss. Oh well. C'est la vie. I guess I'll have to put up with palm trees and ocean breezes in Santo Domingo. Okay, this is a Radio Earth mailbag. Here's a letter from Greg Jordan in Gastonia, North Carolina, who says, who gives us some suggestions on what to do if things don't work out. Well, as a matter of fact, we took your suggestions, Gregory. That's all I'll say about that. W.R. Wampler of Albuquerque, New Mexico says your program Skyline with Dave Rosenthal is outstanding. Tom Bird of Buffalo, New York wants information on our trip to Curacao in December. We will be sending that to you. Here's a reception report from, I told you we had letters from East Germany. Here is one from Gerald Hauk of Erfurt in West Germany, or East Germany rather. Says he's 23 years old, he's a student, his hobbies are practical electronics, good music, and DXing. And he says that he heard an interview on shortwave panorama from the Austrian radio with me, which he said was interesting. Yeah, I remember doing that interview, I guess, with Wolf Harland up at the EDXC meeting up in Stockholm, Sweden, back in June. Gerald, was it Gerald? Gerald, yes. Gerald sends us a postcard here of Mühlhausen, East Germany. Appreciate your card very much, thanks. And here's one from Italy. This is from Riccardo Trito of Taranto, Italy. We have lots of listeners, it seems, in the city of Taranto. I didn't know it was such a big city. Well, let's see, wait a minute, he gives us some information on it. Taranto, he says, is situated in the southern Italian region called Puglia. It is by the Ionian Sea, and its geographical coordinates are 40 degrees, 28 minutes north, 17 degrees, 14 minutes east, as you can see on the map on the back of this sheet. Taranto has 250,000 inhabitants. Okay, it's a good-sized city. And it is an important military and mercantile harbor. The climate here is typically Mediterranean with hot summer and mild winter. Sounds okay to me. I am 20 years old and my great passion is the radio. I love listening to broadcasting and amateur radio stations all over the world through my homemade sets. I am a shortwave listener, have been since I was 17 years old. Great, thanks, and thanks for the nice color postcard of Toronto, Italy. Someday, maybe I'll get there. Bob Schroeder from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Thanks for writing to us. Also, Vince Calgary in St. Peters, Missouri. And Paul Newman Jr., another card from you from New Orleans. Murray Beasley in Athens, Georgia. Florence Jacobs in Youngstown, Ohio. We'll be sending you all the information you've requested. Boy, I have a lot more letters here. I don't have time for them. We will read some more mail on tomorrow night's program, a special edition of the program. A reminder to those of you who have just tuned in that Radio Earth is moving on Monday to 0300 UTC, same time, but a different frequency, 11.7 megahertz via Radio Clarin in Santo Domingo. That just about brings us to the end of our show tonight. I've certainly enjoyed being with you for the past 60 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it too, at least enough to want to tune in again tomorrow night. Until then, we must tell you that tonight's edition of The World was brought to you by the Curacao Tourist Board. Curacao, the island with a style of its own. By Spectronics, where service and quality tell the story. By Grove Enterprises, a company committed to customer satisfaction. And by Sony, the one and only. Radio Earth is on the air daily at 0300 Coordinated Universal Time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. On 6.185 megahertz through Sunday night in North America. Beginning Monday night, we will be switching to 11.7 megahertz. That's 11.7 megahertz in the 25-meter band. Our address, if you'd like to write to us, is Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201 USA. We'd be glad to send you QSL cards, our new program schedule, and so on and so forth. Drop us a line with your comments, suggestions on reception reports. The address, once again, Radio Earth, 1724 Sherman Avenue, Evanston, Illinois, 60201 USA. This program is copyright 1984, Radio Earth International Incorporated, all rights reserved. Tomorrow, a special overflow mailbag and DX News. Until then, this is Jeff White leaving you with some music from Jimmy Buffett. And good night from Radio Earth. When you're coming off a cola, that's sure. I won't touch. Yes, I have found me a home. There aren't many reasons all to be, 'cause I have found me some peace. Worldwide WRNO. It's 0400 hours GMT at the Rock of the World. WRNO Worldwide, New Orleans.
Non più fantasia ma realtà reale, letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, www.letteralmente.info.
Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network presenta il Frate del Rifugio con Emanuele Cristofori.
Ragazzi, buongiorno. Oggi volevo parlarvi di una spezia molto buona ed è una bomba di nutrienti benefici. Il peperoncino è una pianta aromatica utilizzata fin dall'antichità. È nota per la sua caratteristica piccantezza dovuta alla presenza di capsaicina, un alcaloide dalle molte proprietà. Adesso vedremo quali. Intanto svolge un'attività vasodilatatrice locale e migliora la circolazione sanguigna e la salute del cuore, riducendo così il rischio di ischemie ed ipertensione. Poi ha un effetto antidolorifico, grazie alla sua capacità di interferire con i nervi sensoriali cutanei, nella trasmissione dello stimolo del dolore. Accelera inoltre il metabolismo. Quindi all'interno di una dieta equilibrata questo favorisce la perdita di peso. In più ha un effetto positivo sul colesterolo, i trigliceridi e il glucosio. Inoltre possiede proprietà antibatteriche che agiscono positivamente sulla flora intestinale. Ma il peperoncino contiene, oltre alla capsaicina, anche una parte di vitamina C, un importante antiossidante fondamentale per il sistema immunitario e per l'assimilazione di ferro da parte dei globuli rossi. Inoltre, vitamina A, utile per il corretto funzionamento del sistema visivo ed il mantenimento delle cellule epiteliali intestinali e per il funzionamento del sistema immunitario e genitale. Inoltre, vitamina E è un antiossidante naturale che contribuisce al mantenimento e all'integrità delle cellule. Poi ci sono, tra tutte queste cose, anche sali minerali, sono presenti calcio, rame e potassio. C'è solo una controindicazione per le persone che soffrono di reflusso, esofageo, colon irritabili, emorroidi, ulcera gastrica e malattie infiammatorie intestinali. Ragazzi, con questo vi saluto, spero di esservi stato utile con questi pochi minuti di conversazione nel farvi capire come il peperoncino è una cosa molto importante per la nostra vita. Grazie e buona giornata.
Ebbene sì, sei su letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, la mia radio, la tua radio, letteralmente Radio Yoga Network, www.letteralmente.info, nostro indirizzo di posta elettronica radioyoganetwork@gmail.com. Radio Letteralmente Yoga Network, la radio che ti sta sempre vicina.
Krishna è questa. Radiofoniche staticamente parlando, o meglio, ascoltando. Ovunque in Italia non c'è paragone.
La perfezione dello yoga. Un programma a cura di Krishna Prema Das. La coscienza di Krishna è lo yoga più elevato. Forse avete letto nel 7° capitolo della Bhagavad Gita le parole che Krishna rivolge ad Arjuna quando questi rifiutava di praticare l'Hatha Yoga. E di tutti gli yogi, colui che con grande fede dimora sempre in me e mi adora servendomi con amore trascendentale, è il più intimamente legato a me ed è il più grande di tutti. Krishna è chiamato anche Yogeshvara, il maestro di tutti gli yogi. Perciò, colui che è sempre assorto in Krishna diventa il più grande degli yogi. Esistono numerose categorie di yogi e diverse forme di perfezioni yoga, chiamate appunto yoga siddhi. Lo yogi perfetto può compiere meraviglie. Può diventare più piccolo del più piccolo e più grande del più grande, o può creare pianeti a suo piacere. Può anche diventare più leggero di una piuma e volare nello spazio senza alcun aiuto esterno. Tutti questi poteri sono chiamati siddhi. I Veda riferiscono inoltre che esiste un pianeta detto Siddhaloka, i cui abitanti possono spostarsi attraverso gli spazi interplanetari senza servirsi di navicelle spaziali. Krishna afferma però che il più elevato di tutti gli yogi è colui che lo glorifica dentro di sé con fede e amore. Lo scopo di tutti gli yoga, infatti, è unirsi. Questa unione è definita samadhi, unirsi a Dio, la persona suprema, Sri Krishna, che risiede nel cuore di ogni essere, come conferma la Bhagavad Gita. Il Signore Supremo è situato nel cuore di ognuno, o Arjuna, e dirige le errare di tutti gli esseri viventi che si trovano ciascuno come in una macchina costituita di energia materiale. In realtà, ognuno di noi porta il Signore dentro di sé, ma solo chi è pienamente consapevole può essere definito cosciente di Krishna. Di conseguenza, lo scopo del nostro movimento, che è quello di ristabilire in ogni essere la coscienza di Krishna, è anche quello di fare di ognuno uno yogi perfetto. Non dobbiamo credere che sia necessario studiare tutta la letteratura vedica o sottoporsi alle diverse pratiche yoga come il dhyana, il dharana, l'asana, il prana e così via. Queste pratiche presentano grandi difficoltà e non devono essere affrontate alla leggera. Già 5.000 anni fa Arjuna rifiutava di praticarle e disse a Krishna: «Ciò mi sembra impossibile». Arjuna proveniva da un'illustre famiglia di re ed era così elevato che aveva con Krishna una relazione di amicizia. Ma nonostante queste qualità eccezionali, Arjuna respinse questa forma di yoga, l'Hatha Yoga, perché si considerava incapace di metterlo in pratica. Nessuno nella nostra epoca può dedicarsi con successo agli esercizi fisici dello yoga, date le difficoltà che essi presentano. Innanzitutto, si deve abbandonare la propria abitazione e cercare un luogo isolato dove praticare le asana in solitudine. Non si tratta di iscriversi a un club di yoga come quelli che esistono in abbondanza nelle grandi città. Tutti questi club che conosciamo in Occidente non fanno altro che portare fuori strada coloro che li frequentano. Invece, la via del Bhakti Yoga, raccomandata da Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, è la più facile. È sufficiente cantare il mantra Hare Krishna e danzare con gioia per sentire subito che stiamo avanzando nella vita spirituale. Anche i bambini possono impegnarsi in questo metodo. Mi ricordo che quando cantavo da solo in Tompkins Square a New York, numerosi ragazze e ragazzi si univano a me. Questo yoga si pratica cantando il Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. È un metodo che può essere considerato rigorosamente scientifico, in quanto Krishna, il nome di Dio, la forma di Krishna, le qualità di Krishna, ciò che ricorda Krishna e ciò che gli appartiene o è in relazione con lui, è tutto assoluto. Questo è l'insegnamento dei Veda. Il termine Chaitanya significa forza attiva. Ci fa capire che Dio non è morto, non è qualcosa di inerte, ma è una forza vivente. Innumerevoli sono coloro che possiedono gli attributi di Dio, ma Krishna è il supremo tra tutti, perché nessuno può superarlo. Krishna è il Signore originale, Govinda. Egli è la causa di tutte le cause, e il suo corpo eterno è pieno di conoscenza e di felicità. Krishna possiede dunque una forma eterna, piena di conoscenza e di felicità. Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Questo è il modo di comprendere la conoscenza assoluta. La verità assoluta è Advayam, cioè libera da ogni dualità. Qui, in questo mondo illusorio, che noi chiamiamo mondo relativo, tutto è dissociato. Se abbiamo sete non basterà pronunciare più volte la parola acqua per dissetarci. Per soddisfare la nostra sete abbiamo bisogno della vera sostanza, l'acqua, perché, non essendo assoluti, il nome dell'acqua e la sostanza in se stessa sono diversi. Ma per quanto riguarda Krishna, la sua persona e il suo nome sono tutt'uno, sono identici, o Purnam, cioè perfetti e assoluti. Krishna è completo in se stesso e altrettanto lo sono il suo nome e la sua forma. Ecco perché noi adoriamo la forma di Krishna, perché è assoluta. Noi non pensiamo a Krishna e alla sua forma come a due cose distinte. Se Krishna e la sua forma fossero diversi l'uno dall'altra, le parole verità assoluta non avrebbero alcun significato. Per questa ragione, le scritture vediche condannano la persona che, entrando in un tempio, crede che la forma del Signore presente sull'altare sia una semplice statua di metallo, di legno o di pietra. Con l'aiuto della scienza vedica dobbiamo sapere con certezza che Krishna è veramente presente sull'altare. È vero che per poterlo realizzare occorre aver raggiunto un certo grado di maturità spirituale, ma il fatto è che non esiste alcuna differenza tra Krishna e la sua forma. Questa forma, scesa sulla terra, è detta Archa Vigraha. Vigraha significa forma e Archa adorazione. Grazie alla sua onnipotenza, Krishna appare in questa forma affinché la persona sincera che lo desidera adorarlo possa percepire la sua presenza. Nel nostro stato attuale, con i nostri sensi imperfetti, noi non possiamo vedere Dio in persona e il nostro orecchio materiale non può udire ciò che riguarda il nome spirituale di Krishna. Ma Krishna è così misericordioso che ci fa la grazia di scendere in questo mondo nella sua forma Archa. Krishna non è privo di forma, egli vive eternamente nella sua forma trascendentale. Adoro Govinda, il Signore originale, il primo degli antenati. Egli porta al pascolo le mucche e soddisfa tutti i desideri. I suoi palazzi sono costruiti con pietre filosofali e sono circondati da milioni di alberi dei desideri. Un numero infinito di Lakshmi, dee della fortuna, e di Gopi lo adorano da sempre con grande venerazione e col più profondo affetto. I seguaci della scuola filosofica Mayavada sostengono talvolta che Krishna è un personaggio immaginario, ma la loro conclusione è priva di fondamento. La Bhagavad Gita afferma che Krishna è la verità suprema e assoluta. O conquistatore delle ricchezze, nessuna verità mi è superiore. Tutto su me, Krishna, riposa come perle su un filo. Com'è possibile che Krishna sia senza forma? In realtà, egli possiede una forma completamente spirituale e la Brahma Samhita lo conferma. Adoro Govinda, il Signore originale, che suona il flauto a meraviglia. Il suo viso risplende di bellezza e i suoi occhi si aprono come petali di loto. La sua pelle ha il colore bluastro delle nuvole e il suo capo è ornato di piume di pavone. La sua grazia ineffabile affascina milioni di Gandharva. I Gandharva sarebbero i Cupidi. Queste parole sono di Brahma, il dirigente dell'universo. Krishna non è una figura immaginaria nata dalla fantasia di un artista. Noi non adoriamo un miraggio, anzi, seguiamo scrupolosamente gli Shastra, le scritture vediche. La verità deve essere appresa da queste scritture. Bisogna vedere l'intera creazione alla luce di questi Shastra, proprio come vediamo il mondo alla luce del sole. I nostri occhi sono troppo deboli per poter abbracciare il mondo intero. Noi vediamo solo in condizioni particolari, principio che è applicabile del resto a tutti gli altri sensi. Non è possibile vedere Krishna con i nostri sensi imperfetti, ma gli Shastra ci permettono di conoscerlo. In che modo? Indicandoci la via del servizio di devozione e dell'abbandono a Krishna, il quale dice a questo proposito: a coloro che sempre mi servono e mi adorano con amore e devozione, do l'intelligenza con la quale potranno venire a me. Senza questo amore è impossibile vedere Krishna. Invece, chi ravviva pienamente il suo amore per il Signore, può contemplarlo ad ogni istante. Adoro Govinda, il Signore originale, che è chiamato Syamasundara. Egli è Krishna stesso e i suoi innumerevoli attributi sono inconcepibili. I puri devoti che hanno gli occhi unti dal balsamo dell'amore e della devozione lo vedono nel profondo del loro cuore. Il movimento per la coscienza di Krishna è fondato su basi rigorosamente scientifiche. Nessuno deve sentirsi autorizzato a dire che si tratta di un movimento ispirato a un vago sentimentalismo religioso. Per la grazia del Signore Chaitanya, Krishna mostra alle anime cadute del nostro tempo una misericordia speciale. Per aver reso la coscienza di Krishna facilmente accessibile a tutti, Sri Chaitanya è stato definito l'avatar più magnanimo. Il termine Vadanya significa caritatevole e Maha significa grande. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu è definito Mahavadanya perché ha distribuito con una generosità senza limiti l'amore per Krishna, Krishna Prema, a tutti gli esseri. Tale è la misericordia di Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Al momento necessario, egli è venuto a salvare dall'abisso tutte le anime cadute, condizionate dalla materia. Ai miei discepoli è stato sufficiente cantare il mantra Hare Krishna per perdere le loro cattive abitudini e trasformarsi radicalmente. Oggi essi cantano e danzano pieni di amore per Dio. Ciò che fu possibile 5000 anni fa è ancora attuabile, a patto che adottiamo il canto del mantra Hare Krishna. Il Signore Chaitanya ci raccomanda anche di pulire con cura lo specchio dei nostri pensieri, spazzando via le impurità che vi sono accumulate. Ceto Darpanam Maryajam. Tutti gli esseri sono parti integranti del Signore e sono quindi della sua stessa sostanza. Ma il loro cuore, contaminato dalle influenze della natura materiale, li mantiene prigionieri di questo mondo. Ciò è confermato da Krishna nella Bhagavad Gita. Gli esseri viventi nel mondo delle condizioni sono miei frammenti eterni, ma essendo condizionati lottano duramente contro i 6 sensi, tra cui la mente. Se Krishna è Satchitananda Vigraha, anche noi lo siamo. Tuttavia, il corpo e la mente materiali oscurano attualmente la nostra vera natura. Per questo motivo dobbiamo purificarli. Non è un compito impossibile, anzi, è facilmente realizzabile se si adotta il canto dei santi nomi di Krishna. Ricordiamoci che Krishna e il suo nome sono una cosa sola, come del resto anche il Signore Chaitanya ha confermato. O Signore, il tuo santo nome può dare ogni benedizione agli esseri viventi, perciò tu possiedi centinaia e migliaia di nomi come Krishna e Govinda, e in questi nomi trascendentali hai investito tutte le tue potenze trascendentali. Non ci sono rigide regole per cantare questi nomi. O Signore, nella tua infinita misericordia ci permetti di avvicinarti facilmente col canto dei tuoi santi nomi. Ma io sono così sfortunato che non ho alcuna attrazione per essi. Noi cantiamo Hare Krishna, ma se qualcuno desidera cantare un altro nome del Signore, è libero di farlo. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu afferma che Dio ha innumerevoli nomi, ma questo non ci autorizza a inventare un nome a nostro piacere. Il nome che si sceglie deve essere riconosciuto da una scrittura autentica. Il nome di Krishna è cantato da tempo immemorabile. Lo si ritrova nella Bhagavad Gita o nello Srimad Bhagavatam, opere che risalgono a 5000 anni fa. Anche la Tarva Veda cita il nome di Krishna. Possiamo quindi essere sicuri che il nome di Krishna non è un'invenzione recente e che noi non inventiamo niente cantando Hare Krishna. Krishna è il nome originale di Dio. Questo è ciò che tutti gli Shastra insegnano. Noi non dobbiamo neppure credere che Krishna sia un dio indiano o indù o che appartenga a una confessione religiosa piuttosto che a un'altra. In realtà Krishna è il padre di tutti gli esseri. Sappi, o figlio di Kunti, che tutte le specie di vita hanno origine nella natura materiale, e io ne sono il padre che dà il seme. Esistono 8.400.000 forme di vita che comprendono gli esseri acquatici, gli alberi, le piante, gli insetti, gli uccelli, i mammiferi e gli esseri umani di ogni genere. E Krishna dichiara di essere il padre di tutti. Come si può quindi limitarlo a una sola nazione o a una sola religione? Perché del resto tante differenti religioni? La religione è una e indivisibile. Dal momento in cui ne appare una seconda, una delle due è necessariamente falsa. Esiste una sola religione ed è quella dell'abbandono a Dio. Se si manca l'abbandono a Dio e il mezzo per sviluppare il nostro amore per Lui, non ci può essere spiritualità. Molti praticano una forma di religione, chiamata Dharma, ma senza poter valutare il loro progresso. Invece, i risultati dell'adesione alla coscienza di Krishna possano essere immediatamente percepiti perché questa è la vera religione. Quando abbiamo fame e mangiamo qualcosa, è inutile domandare a qualcun altro se il nostro appetito è stato soddisfatto. Similmente, le persone che hanno adottato la religione autentica, la coscienza di Krishna, si accorgono di progredire costantemente, altrimenti perché mi seguirebbero? Che cosa rappresenta l'India, questo paese di miserie accanto alle loro ricche nazioni di origine? Non ho comprato né corrotto questi europei e questi americani, tutti nati in famiglie agiate. Essi sono stati incoraggiati unicamente dal loro progresso nella coscienza di Krishna. Essi colgono il vero significato della religione e si arrendono al desiderio di Krishna espresso nella Bhagavad Gita. Pensa sempre a me, diventa mio devoto, offrimi i tuoi omaggi e adorami. Perfettamente assorto in me, certamente verrai a me. Purtroppo, molti leggono la Bhagavad Gita in edizioni commentate da individui che inducono in errore il lettore. La maggior parte dei falsi eruditi che commentano la Bhagavad Gita sono invidiosi di Krishna. Krishna ci informa nella Bhagavad Gita stessa del loro destino. Gli invidiosi, i malvagi, i più degradati tra gli uomini, io li getto nell'oceano dell'esistenza materiale, nelle svariate forme di vita demoniaca. Nel 7° capitolo della Bhagavad Gita è detto che tutti coloro che non si abbandonano a Krishna sono Naradama, i più degradati tra gli uomini. Perché? Perché la vita umana è destinata a permetterci di sviluppare la nostra coscienza di Krishna, a interrogarci su Dio, il Brahman Supremo. Anche il Vedanta Sutra afferma la stessa cosa, perciò colui che non sviluppa in sé la coscienza di Krishna si degraderà al livello delle più basse specie viventi. Il movimento per la coscienza di Krishna è importante perché offre a ciascuno l'opportunità di rendere perfetta la propria vita. Krishna stesso dice: dopo avermi raggiunto, le grandi anime, yogi, colmi di devozione, mai più torneranno in questo mondo temporaneo e pieno di sofferenza, perché hanno ottenuto la perfezione più alta. Avvicinare e comprendere Krishna è dunque la più alta perfezione dell'esistenza. La nostra umile richiesta è che ciascuno adotti la coscienza di Krishna, qualunque sia la sua posizione o la sua condizione sociale. La verità, affermata da tutte le scritture e da tutti i Veda, è che si può avvicinare Krishna indipendentemente dalle nostre origini e dalla nostra situazione. È sufficiente fare lo sforzo di comprendere Krishna perché la nostra vita si illumini. 2 sono le vie per poter comprendere Krishna. Si può tentare di conoscerlo attraverso il jnana, la ricerca filosofica, ma è soprattutto la bhakti, il servizio di devozione, che conferisce la conoscenza perfetta. Dopo numerose nascite e morti, colui che ha la vera conoscenza si sottomette a me, sapendo che io sono la causa di tutte le cause e tutto ciò che esiste. Un'anima così grande è molto rara. In questo verso il termine Mahatma, o grande anima, designa il fedele servitore del Signore Sri Krishna, colui che ha una fede incrollabile in Krishna o Dio, e perciò deve essere considerato un sadhu, un uomo santo. Dobbiamo sviluppare il nostro amore per Dio e allo stato attuale non possiamo percepire Krishna. Occorre innanzitutto purificare i sensi. La vera religione è quella che ci permette di sviluppare il nostro amore per Dio, che è situato al di là della percezione dei sensi. Il modo di adorarlo è molto semplice. Krishna stesso ce lo indica nella Bhagavad Gita. Se qualcuno mi offre con amore e devozione una foglia, un fiore, un frutto e dell'acqua, accetterò la sua offerta. Cantando questo mantra, il Maha Mantra, il mantra Hare Krishna, il nostro cuore a poco si purificherà e questa purificazione ci permetterà di avvicinare Krishna. Avete ascoltato La perfezione dello yoga. Un programma a cura di Krishna Prema Das. Fine della prima puntata.
Letteralmente Radio Yoga Network www.letteralmente.info. Nostro indirizzo di posta elettronica radioyoganetwork@gmail.com. Buon ascolto.